Okay, so we're trying to use a new database. Basically, now at the moment we're using Postgres, but we just wanted to use MongoDB because the next projects would be a bit challenging in a sense that it would be like too hard to figure it out with just the Postgres or like these SQL databases, relational databases, if you like to call it. So at the moment I'm thinking to get things started with MongoDB. So this is what we're gonna do. Again, again, we are on production server. Let me just connect. Okay. So again, we are on the production server, and this is the website that we are hosting, and so this is our website. We are at the moment generating automated blogs for we're generating automated blogs based on some news, daily news, and we basically gather many news web pages, scrape them, and then we just generate these blog posts. And I think the cool thing is that we can kind of apply it to any other niche, I would say. For example, if you want to just say, okay, we want the same idea, but then instead of, let's say, blog or news, you want to just put it into, I don't know, the fitness area or something, fitness domain. So let's say you want to daily generate some fitness blogs and this sort of thing. This also would be applicable. So anyway, this is the website that we are having at the moment, and so second. So we just want to now use Docker. Just want to use MongoDB, and the way that I'm gonna do it is using Docker. Of course, it would be like too much trouble, I would say, to like not that much trouble, but anyway, it would be a bit problematic or not that nice to just install it directly on the server. Of course, Docker, there might be some overheads in general, but I think it's worth it. When should I not use a database in a Docker image, like in a Docker format? I would say when the application that you're building is so time critical that even the minimum overhead is too much. So for me at the moment in this application, I think the overhead is negligible, so I can just ignore it at the moment. And I think in general, it gives me really nice it would give me a really nice control over the configuration of the database, and also it would be like super easy. I don't have to deal with the package management and stuff. And then the good thing is, for example, if I say, okay, MongoDB, I'm not interested anymore, it's not working for me for this application or whatever, I can just delete it instantly. So this, for me, it's really like, it's a super nice thing. And so in summary, if you want to use a database, it's really good idea to first think of it and try to use the Docker image instead of installing it directly on your machine. Because when you install it directly on your machine, and if you mess something up, then you have to clean up a mess, and sometimes it would get a bit nasty. But if you're just using the Docker, of course, if you are say, okay, the overhead of using a Docker for me is nothing, then you can easily just use a Docker image of that database, and then this would make your life really easier if you want to like change something, or if you want to say, okay, this is not working, I just want to throw things away. So yeah, one trick that I can teach you now is, for example, if you want to look for a specific command that you used before, you can just press Ctrl R, and then you just search your command or like part of it, for example, cd and then space, and then it also like brings up the command that you used before, so you can just press enter and then you just use it. And if you also want to, for example, see other commands, for example, let's say I press again Ctrl R, cd, and then if this is not the command that I'm looking for, I can again press Ctrl D, and then this just brings all of the commands that I've used, and there's a cd inside. So it's a really cool, like really fast feature if you want to just look up the commands that you know you used somewhere, but you don't want to just go up like a million times. Okay. So yeah, here I have my Docker Compose, and yeah, the idea is that to just integrate the MongoDB here as well as a service. So yeah, this is the service that you can add into your Docker Compose, and basically this is a MongoDB service, and then we also have the credentials here, for example, admin, and then the secret, the username and the password to access the database. And this is basically, this is it. Okay, let me just double check this because okay. Yeah, okay. So this should be, I put, for example, root/mongo vol here, and yeah, so basically I need this directory to mount the data in that. So this would be like the volume that I will be using in the MongoDB service. So basically at the moment this is the way to make things persistent. Yeah, so I just have to just create the folder here. Okay, stop it. Yeah, so I make dir, blah, blah, and then again check here. So you can just type in open SSL rand-hex 16, and then you just get your random string. Here is how you define the MongoDB service in your Docker Compose, and we just create this, and then we say Docker Compose up -d MongoDB, and then it just pulls the image, and then I think this will set up MongoDB on our machine. We already have specified the username and password here, so we're also good to go. And I think this is how you can just bring one instance of MongoDB on your machine, and then we try to connect to it later. Okay. Good. So okay, let's say that you just ran this service on your machine. At the moment, this is the MongoDB service that I added to my Docker Compose, and I already just hit Docker Compose up. So it said that it's running, and I just want to double check that the port is open and like in use basically. So you can just type in netstat -tlnp, and this will basically give me all the ports that are available, like used. But then this is a bit like messy, so I just use grep and then the port number here, and yeah, this will tells me that this port is in use with Docker procs. So in general, something is listening on this port, so it is definitely my MongoDB. So this is the way to check if some service or some application is listening on a specific port. Okay, so basically MongoDB Compass is a really good UI that you can just connect it, use it to connect to your database, and you can have this UI to add new documents, like insert them, delete them, and like create new databases. So in general, you can manage your database using this application. Okay, so now if you want to connect to our database, we need this new connection string. And this connection string, basically it says this is the server that the database is running on, this is the port, this is the username, this is the password, and then connect. So now we created the MongoDB service on our server. It's running, and we want to access it through MongoDB Compass. Basically this UI that enables us to add collections, add like data points, like entries, and so this would help us to just manage our database. And the problem is that at the moment it needs some connection string. And as you can see here, the connection string is localhost, and this is the port number that I'm using it on my server. But the thing is, because my server is set up in a way that no ports, like the limited ports, are exposed to the internet, this is not gonna work. So I need SSH tunneling. So basically SSH tunneling, what SSH tunneling port forwarding does, it enables you to just forward all of the requests to a specific port on your local host, to your machine. It just forwards it to a specific port on your server. And then the cool thing is that that port on the server, it doesn't have to be exposed to the internet. So your firewall can just deny any access directly to it. But because we are using port forwarding using SSH, basically SSH gives us this green pass that the request goes in, and then it's like inside the server, after we just access it through SSH, it just helps or like makes the packet go to the specific port. So it's like SSH gives shows the firewall the green pass, and then inside of your server, this allocation or like this redirection of the request is done. If you want to see what's your IP address in Linux, you can just type in IP addr show, and then this is like a huge list probably on your system, and you can just use grep inet to limit it to some specific outputs, and usually you can just find it easily. These are the ones for localhost, and then this is the IP address of your machine, your server. So for demonstration purposes, I just want to say like my username at server. Okay, so to use port forwarding in any system and forward your request from localhost to a port on a remote, you just use this command ssh-l and then the port and the localhost and then the port on remote, and then your configuration for SSH connection, like username and then the IP address. And now I will just type in my password. And then when you get this logging shell, this means that your password is correct, and now your port is automatically forwarded. So any request to this port would be sent to the remote and would reach at this port. So I just used port forwarding to request all of the incoming requests to this specific port on my machine, my local host, to this port on my remote. So now I just want to connect with the MongoDB Compass to my remote database, and this is how we do it. Because the problem is, if you don't use port forwarding, the port on the server is not exposed to the internet, so we can't access it because it just hits the firewall. And when we use port forwarding, SSH connection, this port forwarding using SSH, the connection, it has a green pass from SSH, so it just goes in, and then the request will be forwarded. So now the cool thing is also, even though you know my username and password, you cannot access the MongoDB server because it is secured through SSH, and this port is not exposed to the internet. So that's also really cool, I would say. So I just press save and connect, and then now I'm connected to my database on my remote server. So now that you're connected to your databases in MongoDB Compass, you just this would make things really easier. So just create one database named private kernel, and then let's say test for collection name, and there now you have created your database and also your test collection. So you can also just let's say insert document here, and then for example just the template, and let's insert, and now we have inserted our first record to our database. Okay, so at the moment we are connected to our database with the admin user. So in general, it's better to just leave the user with the highest privilege alone, and don't use it in day-to-day work, I would say. So for that, we want to just create a new user. We just say use private kernel. This is the name of the database that you're saying here, and then we just type in, you just paste in this, and then this will just create the user, app user, and then for the password I will keep it for now like this, and then the role, and then the database, so they can be private kernel. And now everything is okay, all good. And now I can close this connection, edit connection, disconnect, confirm. Okay, so I just want to edit it. I just want to connect with the user that I created and the password that I created. Save and connect. Indication failed. Okay, that was unexpected. Because since we are not the highest privileged user, we have to also say that, hey, this is the private kernel database, and then this would be also the authentication source. So now, yeah, perfect. So now, as you can see, we don't have access to other collections that we could see with the admin user. So this also means that this privilege to access this database is only, this is really limited for private kernel, like this user app, like this, I forgot the name, app user that we created. So this is the MongoDB part that I wanted to do, and now I'm thinking to fix a problem that we have in our production at the moment. Okay, so at the moment you have a problem that some of the blog posts, they are not that like they don't finish generating. So the problem is that at the moment we want to have this thread that will say, okay, this is the blog, okay, this is the blog post, and then generate some threads for posting on X or like Twitter. And the problem now is that it should be something like this, that it says like in a couple of tweets, it just explains what's going on, and then in the end it just pastes the link, the short link to our blog. And then the problem is here at the moment, for example, for some cases, there's a chance that it doesn't go through. So it's like the problem at the moment, and then the link would not be shared. So I'm not really sure what's the problem here. And I'm guessing because we are using some tool calling in the agent, and this would be, I think at the moment it's problematic. So okay, at the moment this is our agent, for example, for posting a thread based on the blog post. And the thing is that we try to add a delay here. We try to add a delay here so that we don't hit the rate limit of Twitter. So that's one thing that we want to this is the problem that we had, and then we try to fix it like this. And then sometimes I get this problem that this final tweet, this would be the initial tweet, and then it would just use this other Twitter node to just try to go over the whole thread, like posting one by one. And I think at the moment this is too much for it, or like it can't really like figure it out, or sometimes just messes it up, or whatever, I don't know. So at the moment it's a little bit unstable, and I wanna solve it. Yeah, for example, this is one like it failed here because it said it's forbidden, or like check your credentials or whatever. Yeah, so this is the part that I'm thinking to just use like a specific server, or like a specific endpoint for it. So instead of having these Twitter nodes, I just say write down the blogs, like write down the tweets, and then just send them to this endpoint. And then in this endpoint I handle like posting the tweets one by one myself using Python. I think this, I don't know if it's some problem with n8n or it's something wrong with Twitter endpoints or whatever, but I think the Python approach would be super stable. So at the moment that's the idea, and I want to implement it in Python, but before that I have to hide some credentials. So new file, so this is the code at the moment, and I'm basically just loading them from the operating system OS variables. And yeah, for example, this is the whole like generating the tweets. And now I just to run the server. I use unicorn -. Then the ports. Okay, so this would just run my server. So I just want to see if it works. Method not allowed. Not allowed. Right. Let's get post. Okay. Okay, so posting a 2-tweet thread. So okay, now we are sending the tweets. Okay, let's see if it goes through. I also added a delay, so there's a chance that it's a bit slow. Okay, so part 1 is done. And yeah, as you can see here, we also have it here. Okay, so go to editor. Okay, so we have to change stuff here. I basically have to just crop all of them for now, and then add a new HTTP node, like HTTP request tool, and then I set it to post, and okay, I just import the curl. So it's imported, and here I have to say, like, here should be generated by AI. I want a description to add. This is a list of messages to be tweeted. It should be a JSON format, like, and then I say this is how it should be, messages, and then message content, message 1 content, and then do content. I think this would give it enough example to send it like this. Okay, so also I put it on localhost because this is a internal. Okay, so the reason I'm adding it here as a localhost is because this is an internal service. N8N is also an internal service running on my production server, and here I will put it on localhost 8000. So then on my server it would connect to localhost port 8000. So if this runs on my server, everything is okay. So I think this would be not a problem. So I don't have to insert, let's say, the IP address of the server or anything. This is running internally on my production server. Okay, so it took a while, but we are posting a thread on X, or like Twitter, fully automated, and this is also something that we're gonna use and combine it with blog generation, like this automated workflow that we are having at the moment in our blog generation pipeline, and then this would kind of fit together and then extend the pipeline. Let's say that you want to commit, let's say this file, and then I say git add and then the file, and then if you want to just commit it in one single line, just say git commit -m, and then you just type your commit message here. For example, in my case now it's adding Twitter thread endpoint. Then this is how you just commit with a message in a single line. Okay. Request to post all the messages, say tweet messages. All the messages should be passed in one single request. Okay, so this is good, and okay, to check the logs of one specific container, you can use docker logs-f and then the name of the service here. For example, in my case, time server, and then it shows all of the logs of that specific container. By the way, I have so many, like a couple of more videos regarding Docker and stuff coming right up, so stay tuned. So I think there's a problem on my server, to be honest. Yeah, so at the moment it's not responding, so I'm assuming running the NA10 it's like running into some problems with the memory and stuff, because it's also happened before. I think the memory just spikes so hard, and yeah, I think that's something that I kind of accepted for the very short duration of block generation. But I mean, it's not that short either, and maybe this is also another challenge that I have to fix. I think I could kind of make the whole thing more optimized. Or I'm not really sure if could be also the MongoDB. It could also be that since I'm running MongoDB, then it's like also another resource heavy service, and then that could also make some problems. So okay, this is something that I will look into. Nice. Yeah, also, and next time we also have this port in 2 days. We also have the ports, what is it called? Like this firewall rule, because we tried to disable the port, but then it didn't. Yeah, we couldn't. I mean, it was really strange, I would say, but yeah, there's probably some sneaky stuff going back there, so that's also really interesting to have a look into. Yeah, but now this is really strange. Yeah, I think my server is out of service. Yeah, my server is trying too hard. So my server is on. My server is on, but I can't like even get out of this log overview. So I think it's just a like fully loaded server at the moment. So I'm not really sure what to do. I could try to kill it, but then also could be like really not strange, but I try to avoid it. But in general, it should be working. And I think now, obviously, our website is also not accessible. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think like killing it like this might be the only option. Yeah, so at the moment, I think my server is totally unresponsive. So as you can see, for example, here the website is not loading. And also, for example, this workflow that I try to run, it's also just spinning around at the moment. So also nothing is happening here. And yeah, I think we are kind of in a like black zone now. So I think I will just hit the reset button on my VPS. I think this is what maybe makes sense. I mean, I don't really know what else to do. Okay, let's just restart. Yeah, so I'm guessing the problem is that since I also ran MongoDB service and then tried to run n8n workflow, they kind of overflown the whole server, because before I also have seen this spike in the CPU usage when n8n workflow is running, and now I think with new MongoDB service it kind of filled things really to the maximum, and I think my server just couldn't handle it. But then I think with the restart it should be okay, and also I will investigate more now if it's the MongoDB or it's like something else. So let's see. Yeah, in case I also couldn't do it in this stream, I will do it on another video or like in upcoming videos. Okay, so now my server is restarted. Let's just see. Okay. Okay, all good, and we are healthy. Memory usage, swap usage. Okay. Yeah, so So the problem that we ran into just now was that n8n workflow and MongoDB, I think they were kind of filling up the whole server, so there was no RAM or anything. So kind of I had to restart my server directly using the control panel from my server provider. And then the thing is that now I just want to see what's the resource manager, like how much resources does the MongoDB uses. So I use this command, docker stats MongoDB, for example, and everything is relatively good, I would say. Okay, so what we just saw now is that my production server just kind of flatlined, and I had to manually restart it here. Now I'm curious to see like how much like resources does MongoDB service uses. So I just use docker stats MongoDB, and you can also just type in any other service that you have or you're interested in. And now, for example, here it's CPU is like 1%, out of memory usage is like less than 50 megabytes. So in general, it's not that much, and I expect it to be like something related to MongoDB. But then I probably also have to look into the n8n workflow a little bit more, and I think this is also a huge problem. Maybe I will look into in the next videos or maybe next streams. Okay. All right. Okay, so what we just saw was that basically my server just flatlined, and I had to, like, the website is out of reach, and then I had to press the restart basically here exactly on the directly on the panel. And now on the server I just want to see how much n8n is using, because when I ran this n8n workflow, it's kind of everything went crazy. So in Docker you can use docker stats and then the name of your service, for example here n8n, and then here we can see how much resources it's using. For example, CPU just less than 1%, but the memory usage is for me a bit too high. But anyway, this is the way to see how much resources one specific service of your Docker is using and allocating. Okay. Kind of want to see the results here, but then to be honest, I'm a bit afraid to just run it again. Okay, let me stop. So in Docker, to stop one specific container, you can just use Docker compose, for example. This is the way, this is how you can use Docker compose to stop one container or like one specific service. So Docker compose, stop, and then here in this case, MongoDB. Okay, so if you want to stop one of your services using Docker compose, you can use Docker compose stop MongoDB, for example, or like the name of your service. But then you also have to make sure that you are in the right folder, for example, where your Docker compose is existing. So here for me, Docker compose stop MongoDB, and then it just says that stop. Yeah, I don't know the reason, but when I stopped MongoDB, everything is now working, I would say. Like the workflow is going forward. So I'm not really sure what the problem was, but also MongoDB, but it had like super low overhead, I would say. So it's also a bit strange. Like 50 megabytes of RAM is not gonna suddenly change huge things. I don't know. Maybe it can. The website is not loading. One second. Okay. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so I think AA panel is dead. Okay, okay, no problem. Yeah, so I think the AA panel service was down, so I just wrote down BT restart and everything's good. Okay, so okay, so I just want to hit the block generation workflow, like confirm it, and then we should see the changes here in our blog. Yeah, I think at the moment it's like Nginx caching and stuff. Okay, so yeah, I just hit the just confirmed the block generation, and as you can see, for example, here it's just been created, and yeah, as you can see, it generated with the latest news. So I don't know what's wrong here though. Did I push it? I did not, right? Okay, I'm just okay, this is my virtual machine. It's been open for a while now. Okay, so I think I did not push the changes here. Okay, so now I've done some changes on my tiny server, and now I pushed it on my GitHub repository. And then the cool thing about GitHub Actions, of course, is that they just create, they just start the building step. And this is basically the whole idea behind GitHub Actions. When you push something new, it just starts some building or like some steps that you predefine. And then in our case, it just like packages everything into a Docker image. And then on our server, we have this, let me show you. We have this watchtower. Yeah, we have this watchtower that basically pulls the, like requests the remote and then see if we have new images every 300 seconds, like 5 minutes. And then if we push something new, for example, in this case, what I've just done, it just pulls the changes, and then we have our latest version automatically deployed in our server in less than, like, at worst case, 10 minutes. Okay, so now that we get our server, like tiny server, to the latest version. So yeah, this is the watchtower logs. And the last one was yeah, like something about 4 minutes ago. So I think anytime now we just will request we check the new changes. Oh, but I think the okay, so the build is now successful, and then we gonna okay, so stopping tiny server with SIG-term. So now the server is down, creating the server and removing the like the old image, and then it just runs the new image. Okay, so I have this service here, tiny server, and then it uses the environment file in this directory, and now I just added a couple of more environment variables, and then I try to use docker compose restart and then tiny server. But then the problem is that if you add new variables, you have to recreate the container. This just like kills the container and then restarts it again. So the variables are not baked into the container again. So instead of doing this, you have to use docker compose up -d -- build to make sure that it just rebuilds it, and then force recreate, and then in the end, for example here, tiny server, my container. And now this is done, and all of the variables are baked again into the container, and the container can now access the variables. Okay, so I will also double check it really quick, and I say cool. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it worked. Okay. Now, it worked. And what else? Now, for the fun part. Okay, here. So here on my production server, I just ran the blog generation pipeline again. And here is the step that the agent would just create a Twitter thread. And I hope that we can see the results now, because we ran into a couple of problems before. And now also, if I see the logs of my tiny server, basically this is the server that handles this HTTP request. I just pass in the entire messages. For example, in this example, you can see something like this. And then the server just goes over the messages one by one and then creates the Twitter thread in a sense. And I also tried to use it using the tweets nodes or like tools basically, but then they kind of messed up, and I'm not really sure if it's something regarding the configuration or is it n8n related, but then I couldn't use them. So I decided to kind of implement this whole flow of creating the threads and then posting messages one by one, all using Python. So at the moment, if I double check here, yeah, we can also see that our first tweet 1 minute ago is already out, and it seems that the whole workflow is now working. And now it's sleeping, for example, for 2 minutes, so then there's enough delay in between the calls to create a new post. Okay, I think it's going over it one by one now. And yeah, I'll just right back. So what we have just done now is that instead of using the Twitter tool nodes, I just implemented the whole workflow using Python. And because this didn't really work out when it came to generating threads, and like there was some error. I'm not really sure if it's like n8n related or was it like something else. But I tried to implement it with Python now, and then as you can see, our latest post like thread generation was really smooth, and it just kept them coming one after the other. And then in the end, there was also a link to our blog post on our website. So at this point, we replaced the old workflow with the new and more robust one. And for example, here also we just run the like sharing the post on Telegram, and at the moment I think this social media sharing is kind of robust, I would say. Okay. Yeah, naturally also got the the message for created the message that created the Telegram post. Yeah, so at the moment I think this was something that was long on my to-do list, and now I'm pretty happy with the result. I think it's good, and yeah, later on I might play a bit with later on we have this problem with the port and the firewall, and then probably we have more time to, like, next to it, after that we might have time to look into some Telegram bot. And I also kind of want to, like, do the basic stuff to just chat with a AI model, and then later on we build upon that. So I kind of want to just lay the the base of things. I'm thinking about, like, getting some transcription of YouTube links and then try to maybe post some tweets about it, and this sort of things I think will be really cool. So stay tuned, and next time hopefully I will see you again. And also there's so much stuff that I worked on in the past weeks. I think there also would be out. So in any case, stay tuned. Thank you.